Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Secure Your Network Traffic with Thales Lunar Networks, HSM, and F5 Big IP. Today's agenda will be an introduction from exclusive networks, followed by a Thales overview on data protection and portfolio, followed by the scalable F5 Big IP solution, and finally the integration of how Thales DP solution with F5 Big IP will take place, and a Q&A session and a wrap up. For the first part of Thales DP protection, we have our speaker from Thales, Mr. Lakhvinder Singh. He is the pre-sales manager for Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. The next is Mr. Moaz from F5. He's the senior solutions engineer, Gulf and Levant at F5 Networks. And for the integration, we have Blair Canavan from Thales again, the digital identity and security team. A few housekeeping rules for today. All attendees are on mute throughout the webinar. Then attendees are encouraged to raise questions as and when in the chat area on the bottom of the GoToWebinar panel. Also, you will see two handouts from Thales and for the integration of F5 Big IP if you would like to download these handouts. Let's wait for 5 minutes and then we can start off in 2:05. Thank you. Okay, let us start the session with Lakwinder for the Thales portfolio.
Thank you, Ryan. Just let me know once you see my screen so that I can start the presentation.
Yes.
All right, so you can see my screen.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today's session or today's event. So my name is Lakwinder. I'm based in Dubai, working as a pre-sales consultant and also as managing a team of pre-sales for Meta when it comes to Thales CPL business unit. So today I'm going to talk, I will take only not big time, it's only 30 minutes with you. So what I will try to cover, like on a very high level, what we are doing as a Thales when it comes to data protection, and or maybe when customers are deciding or they're making some strategy when it comes to the data protection. So on a very high level, I will cover market data trends when it comes to data protection. How can we protect your data? And also a little bit, I will give you a very high level touch on how our solutions can help you in the journey of when it comes to data protection. And please free to put your questions while I'm presenting in the chat window. So at the end of this event, I love to answer your questions. And if I cannot, so I will going to revert back to you with the email with the help of Ryan. So the first thing first, I'm just, I want to present this slide. So everybody's know nowadays, data is very important part for any organization. So this is where we as a Thales, as a data protection company, we have done some surveys last couple of years. With the help of those surveys, we came to know definitely data is a very important part of the journey of any organization. Either they are looking into the digital transformation, or either they are trying to go into the next generation applications, or they're transforming their own platforms when it comes to the as an organizations. So when I see, like, as a security or data protection consultant, so we see these four major points when it comes to why nowadays this data security is main concern. So very well, the data is getting explosive. You get a lot of, you generating a lot of data all the time. So data is generating by your mobiles with your applications. So wherever it is now, that there's no parameter even, right, when it comes to data generation for any organizations. And compliance, definitely compliance are asking you to protect what is the data security norms you are taking as an organization. And the breaches, data breaches, which is nothing is hidden. So you can see every week or every month we see some data breach reports, not from the small organization but from the well-known organization in the industry. So one particular very major part I want to discuss about, like, why customers are thinking we cannot do the data security in a proper way. And the biggest problem we found from our reports is like operational complexity. So this is the one of very top barrier for a data security deployment for every company, because as you know, like, now there is no parameter for the data, and there are a lot of new generation technologies like cloud, the AIs, and also a lot of big data. So these kind of new generation technologies are coming in, which making like any customer's life very like uneasy or complex when it comes to when they are thinking to go for the data security strategy. So this is what we see as a Thales. Like, most of the time we've seen from the last couple of decades, people, they started protecting the data with the help of some parameter security products and solutions. Then they went into the layered security approach, and then silo security approach. So with these kind of approaches from the last few decades, customers, they still think, okay, we still having the problems, we are not able to resolve those data security issues. So this is why, what we found from our reports and from the, feedback from our very like key customers. They're saying they are thinking now, okay, we are moving into the next generation technologies, or like digital transformations, or upgrading their networks environments. So we're going to follow the new approach when it comes to the data security, which is data-centric security. So what that means as a data center security approach. So now customer wants to look the data from all angles. It's not only like having a very silo kind of approach to encrypt the data or just to manage encryption keys here and there. They don't know where is their data is. So these are like four key pillar which Thales as a company we found out. If customer is thinking to protect their data or they're thinking about data security as in an initiative in their company, either they're small or government, payment, finance, telco, so whichever the sector they are, they should go with this four main pillar approach, which is start from the data discovery and classification of your data where it resides. So the big challenge which we see with the big enterprises right now, they don't know where their sensitive data is. So because nowadays there is no, as you know, like there is no parameters. So they have some data which is sensitive on premise, some of data is in the cloud, maybe some of data in other countries, so maybe in storage. So there are a lot of complex environment for the customer. So first of all, as a customer, they should do a practice like let's do the data discovery and classification of the sensitive data first. Try to find out where my enterprise critical data is. And after you know that, okay, you have the report as a CISO, you know where my data is, then you have to put the right data remediation controls on those data. So this is where you have to protect your sensitive data. Either the data is in the rest or at the or in the motion with the help of encryption or maybe a tokenization controls. So that's the second step usually customer take as a practice. And the third one, once you encrypt the data, nowadays you might have a lot of encryption in your organizations, but what is happening, it create a lot of encryption keys, and those encryption keys are scattered in your environment. So maybe in the databases server in the cloud, maybe in file server storage. So those keys are very much scattered. So nowadays the attacks is more on the encryption keys, because those encryption keys can be easily steal by the help of some malware attacks on those softwares where the keys are kept. So you should take care of the centralized key management or proper key manager server to protect your data from the core after the encryption. And not and the last and not the least, so after the encryption and all these key management and discovery and all those things, so you should be make sure who is accessing the data. So you should protect the access control on those access or maybe user, or it could be an application, it could be any process who is accessing that sensitive data. So you should make sure the right user or process is accessing the encrypted data, not everyone. So that are the four key pillar for any data centric security approach. We ask, usually say as a best practices as a Thales to follow, and even as industry they are trying to follow to make sure there is no data security gaps left in their organization as a new initiative. So now what we done as a Thales, as a company, we thought, okay, how we can bring these all four topics together and make the customer's life easy. As it's like in my first slides, those topics are very fancy, we everybody loves, but it become a lot of complexity for a customer because the environment is so big for the customers. So those bringing those all four topics in one particular table or in like one particular tool or solution is not easy. So that's why Thales is always thinking to go for a unified data protection approach. So yes, we need to give a solution as a Thales to discover the data and protect and classify it. And after that, we need to give the solution to the customer to protect and sensitive encryption by encryption or tokenization. And on the top, you should manage the encryption keys. Either it is in the Azure cloud, either it is in on-premise, and also how the users are accessing those encrypted data. So these are the three key pillars we decided as a Thales, okay, how we can help the customer to go with the data-centric approach for their company whenever they have taken any initiatives as a digital transformation or any upgrade when it comes to the environment itself, hybrid cloud or maybe on-premise servers. So these are the basic the topics which we think as a Thales. So and what we have done, we bring some products. So I'm going to cover the data protection portfolio, how we can help the customer to bring these all unified encryption and data protection approach. So we have like I would say it's data protection products. It start from your left, if you see from like a crypto vault services. which is mainly Luna HSMs and PayShield HSMs and data protection on demand, which is our cloud HSMs. So this is the first portfolio of our products when it comes to data protection, which is going to be like, most of the time organizations, they know they're used to keep the encryption key and to creation the encryption key in the safe wallet with the compliance like FIPS and common criteria. In the middle is this is our product, which is Cipher Trust Data Security Platform, which is actually the product which is a combination of the whole data encryption to classification to key management all together in one solution. So this is our one of like a very big flagship product. So right now, the most of the projects we are closely working with our organizations, like when to bring the new features and to give the solution or new solution when it comes to data protection as a tool to the company and to the organizations. And the last product line, which is more on falls on the data in motion. So where we have high-speed encryption boxes, the products, so which help the customers to move the products when it comes to moving data when it comes to the branch offices and all. So the data is from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps line. So this is how we cover. And one thing very important, I want to start now for data at rest, which is the main my focus in today's presentation, because I have my colleagues Bill, and is going to cover like more information about how the vault services they protect the data and plus the keys in their session. So what we are doing when it comes to data at rest. So just give me a minute. Why it's not moving? So okay. So we have a product, or like it's a solution, not a product, Cipher Trust Data Security Platform. So what it does, it covers the two main key areas when it comes to the data security. One is from the very buzzword data privacy. So we are doing data discovery and classification and risk analysis on the data, and wherever your data is, doesn't matter, it's in the databases, it's in the it's like structure on structure. So we do that particular exercise with the help of Cipher Trust data protection platform. And also we do the data security. So this is where the data remediation and key management and audit and monitoring of who is accessing data and not accessing. So all those are done under the umbrella of data security buzzwords. So if you combine data privacy and data security buzzwords, so this is the whole topics which we cover with the help of data Cipher Trust data security platform. And this is the first product we have when it comes to data at rest encryption. So how we are doing it? So this particular product, it comes into two forms: hardware and virtual. I would say like a VM one. And it's once you have this platform, so you have these software modules, which is like I would say a product module which come with Cipher Trust, which starts, if you see from this particular slide from the left to right. So the first module is data discovery and classification. So this particular module help the customer to discover and classify their sensitive data wherever it is residing. And after that, we have the encryption and tokenization module, which helps to encrypt the data wherever your data resides, either it is on the file system level, database level, application level. So wherever your data is, we can help you to encrypt or tokenize the data. And on the last, I'd say like, key management is important tool. So once we do our encryption, we manage the keys. And even if you have already an encryption in your company, maybe native encryption from databases, file server, storage, or cloud, okay? If you have Azure, AWS, the keys are created in those software in their wallets, right? So you have to do the key management, which gives you a key lifecycle management when it comes to the keys. So these all like three topics or three main modules which cover in the software form, and with the help of Cipher Trust data security platform, we can cover all the use cases. So I will just go quickly what exactly how the data Cipher first module, which is the important one, Cipher Trust data discovery and classification tool. So it just plug the nodes. You can plug this product in your cloud storage when it comes to Microsoft Blob or AS3 buckets when it comes to AWS databases, Oracle DB2, Microsoft file servers, Linux, Windows, big data, Hadoop. So wherever your data is residing, you just define the info type. For example, a credit card number. You want to find out in all these kind of nodes. So you put the profile of the data, and run the scan on those all servers, and you will get the whole report wherever your data resides. And after that, on the right hand side, with the help of that report, you can put the right data remediation control. Means you encrypt that data wherever it is residing at the moment. So those are controls comes together in this solution. And also on the top, it gives a very good dashboard for a CISO and maybe CTO. So just see, oh, okay, where is my enterprise data is where, and the data is increasing, where the sensitive data is increasing, in which particular areas or maybe in particular nodes. So all those reportings are there on the dashboard of this particular product module, which falls under the Cipher Trust Manager. And then the second module is important one, is more on encryption side. So as you say, like you discover your data, you know where the data is now and sensitive data. So you need to protect that data, right? So Cipher Trust Transparent Encryption, a particular module which help you to encrypt the data at rest after you've done your exercise when it comes to discovery and classification and risk analysis on the data. So this particular module, which helps you with the help of Cipher Trust Manager, like to encrypt your data, either it's big data, containers in the cloud, either it is in the database server on the operating system or a file system level. So wherever your data is, either structured or unstructured, is the same tool which will help you to encrypt at the rest. And the last part, which is very important of as a lot of customers, they are still ignoring when I see from my experience point of view. So people have some silos of encryption. Might be they have some encryption already, but they don't do the proper key management, because if you don't manage the keys properly, some attacker will get the keys not on the encrypted data, right? So then they can decrypt the data and they can use it wherever they want, right? So that's why think not only on the encryption side, also think from the key management side. Very important part nowadays. Every compliance is asking you should have a proper key manager. So this is the same product, Cipher Trust key manager, so which helps you to even bring the all the keys which is you already have in your company, from the storage point of view, from that native encryption databases, from the homegrown applications when it comes to web servers or could be certificate authorities, and also not the least, which is we cannot ignore nowadays, Azure and cloud, right? So you already might be planning to migrate the cloud. Who is managing those keys? Azure or maybe and some other MSP, right? CSP. So what you have to do, you should manage those keys. At least they're doing the encryption for you. So what you have to do, you have to bring these all keys together in single centralized platform, which is Cipher Trust platform. And with the help of the key management module, you can do with this practice together, not only for our encryption, even you have already some encryption available in your company and you're doing it and the keys are scattered everywhere. So you can use the same platform, bringing those all keys. So if I see as a data security consultant, this particular platform is like a win-win for every customer, because it's not only like they are managing you're doing the encryption or data discovery classification, but you are going to set up your key management. So you're going to use somewhere, right? So that's why this Thales Cipher Trust Manager, it's like a root of I would say data security platform of your organizations. And once you have that, then you can start building up your data security strategy on the top. If you go from left to right on the ring, you see how the data discovery, file and server, database encryption, container encryption, enterprise key management, cloud key management, native encryption. So it's like a journey for any customers. So what we are doing as a Thales, we are bringing this platform and we help them to bring these all three modules on the basis of their roadmap when it comes to data-centric security. So you might not using all these modules in one shot, but maybe you can start your journey from data discovery, or maybe some encryption, or maybe some key management, cloud key management, bring your own encryption, hold your own key, bring your own key. So all those things are in the package of this particular product. So we can help you. Maybe after this call, if you have some initiative already taken or you are planning, please free to jump or maybe send the questions, and I can help you to design the whole strategy for your company with the help of this product. So the second product I want to touch in base when it comes to, we talk about more on the data at rest, right? So when the data is going into the public networks, which is also a very big problem nowadays we see as a customer, because customer has using the public links, they're using dark fiber links, they're using some provider links, they're using some cloud encryption links, right? So, or maybe site to site, site to multi-site, from on-premise to going to the cloud. So how you're managing that traffic, how you're protecting that traffic, right? So the data has to be protected not only on premise, a data at rest, but also data in motion when it is in the motion. So this is where we have our products, say Thales high-speed encryptors. So what it does, it is a very much like an HSMs or encryption box designed only for doing the encryption. And this is where these are the like three main points why customers are looking into these encryptors, right? The first thing is high assurance security. So you cannot do encryption with the help of software, right? The keys in the software, who is creating the keys. So you need some FIPS levels, common criteria certified hardware boxes, or which help you to create the right keys to do the proper key management, right? So this is the main particular requirement of any ministries and defense organizations. They are looking into the product who are doing the encryption with the proper certification or security certifications. Second is, again, latency is always the big game. So whenever you're sending the data, it could be from 10 Mbps to 10 gig to the 100 gig length, right? So you want to make sure the latency is maybe less than 2 microsecond, right, when you're encrypting the data. So this is where you need the dedicated encryption devices, not the native some protocols or IP stacks and stuff and all. So they bring a lot of threshold on the bandwidth after the encryption. So these products are designed to bring the minimum latency, which usually is like less than 2 microsecond latency. So give you an example right now, big cloud vendors, they're using this product for encrypting their cloud traffic between their data centers, which is more like around 100 gig encryptors. And the last and not least, the product is very flexible and scalable and simple. So maybe you can see like the product, you usually we say like set and forget. So like you just plugged it. It's like a simple bump in wire product where you put it and then the data is encrypted on the fly. And also it's easily scalable. You can increase the bandwidth from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps whenever you want to increase the bandwidth of the encryptor. So all can be managed properly with the help of this flexible and scalable encryption, and you can bring a lot of crypto agility, which I don't want to discuss today, but it's out of scope of today's session. So there we can bring your own key, bring your encryption kind of curve and entropy and quantum resistant algorithms. So all are there in the same particular package. So this is there. How we are doing, so we have the 4 particular series of the product as is the like for data in motion. So it start from CV100 for design for a virtual network, especially on the SDN network to include do the encryption. Then we have 4 series, which is start for a small and enterprise branch offices from 10 Mbps line to 1 gig link. And then we have 6 series, which usually do the encryption from 1 gig link to the 10 gig. And 9 series, only the one product in the market who can do encryption up to 100 gig links. So these are the encryptors products. It depends upon what customer's topology and what the network is, and we can give the right box, and they all can work together, by the way. So it's not like 4 series cannot work with the 9 series. They pretty much they work together. So we design the topology of the customer on the basis of their requirement. And these are some use cases, how it looks like. So you can have multiple, might be, I don't know what use case you have, but we can address all the use cases when it comes to the data centers, protection when it comes to the high speed, from point to multi-point mesh and campus, so critical circuits when it comes to even with CCTV cameras, protection and all. So all are covered with the help of these encryptors. And I will want to jump on the third product line, which is general purpose hardware security modules. So these are very very key products, which is very much from the long time in the industry. I think most of the guys, you might know what is hardware security module. So might be I don't need to explain you because it pretty much every new initiatives which is customer taking when it comes to quantum safe crypto agility to modern PKI hybrid like multi-cloud key protection, IoT security, blockchain projects. So wherever there are some critical keys are there, so or the key creation and key management, they need a crypto vault. Customer they need HSM. So that's one of our very much a very flagship product. So which we offer on premise and also from our cloud. So I'm not going to cover much on this particular product because I have my colleagues who is going to give you more explanation in depth how it works and how to secure the private keys, SSL, and the security when it comes to the certificate authorities and stuff. So product name is Luna HSM. So this is one of our main flagship product when it comes to general purpose HSM. So it's in a hardware form, and it comes with the various integration when it comes to PKI, SSL, code signing, database encryption, quantum, IoT, blockchain. So it can address multiple use cases for the customer when it comes to the key vault security of required in any of the project for a customer. When it comes to so now we have these wallet services as on-premise, but what we have launched as a in the market as a Thales, we have launched the same crypto wallet services from our cloud, which is the pod, which is our cloud HSMs, which is more like doing the same kind of functionality which our Luna HSMs is doing on-premise. So in case if you have a requirement, like it might be not wanted to invest in a capital investment HSM, so we can think of going for our cloud HSMs, which is the same product almost like from the concept point of view, which helps to take care of all these key management and code signing and PKI use cases management when it comes to the keys. And the third series of HSM, Space Shield. So I think most of the people they know, like there is a particular HSM which is used in the payment industry. Product name is Space Shield, which is used for particular addressing the key security of the keys and the data when it comes to the payment transactions most of the time. So these all falls under our PayShield HSMs, and most of the time I know customer when or banks, they know they need these HSM, because without these HSMs they cannot run or they cannot roll any transact when it comes to the retail or payment application. So yeah, this is falls under on our HSM's payment HSM products line. And this is one particular slide which help you to analyze what I just discussed on a very high level, right, when it comes to our products. So we have the Cipher Trust Manager, which is our enterprise key management and data protection platform. And on the left end of the slide, on the top, so on the slide you see like Cipher Trust connectors. These are the modules which I was discussing, which comes with this product, and you can select which modules you want to go with. So you can go with data discovery, encryption, then you can go for key management. On the right hand side, the Cipher Trust Manager has a module which is Cipher Trust Cloud Key Management, which help you to to manage the keys of all these leading cloud service providers, right? Amazon, Azure, Google, and we are adding more and more on that. So you can manage the keys with the help of Cipher Trust Manager. And on the right hand side of the bottom of this slide is more on data encryption use cases. So now we are managing that also with the help of our module, which is data encryption module. Either it is Oracle or it is Microsoft, IBM DB2. So all one I would say it's like a single pane of glass where you have all these modules are available, and you can start planning your data security approach. And also on the left hand side in the bottom, we have Cipher Trust Virtual can integrate with our Luna HSM as a root of trust if you're going for a virtual form, and HSM when it comes to PayShield, we have these offering for protecting as a key vault services for payment industry. And altogether, it brings a full like a suite for any company who's thinking for protecting, or they're thinking to protect their data as a strategy. So that's all from my side. I'm not sure. I think I'm pretty much on the time, I think. So and I think in case if you guys have any question, please put it on the chat, and I try to cover at the end of the sessions. And this is my email address. So in case if you have any questions or you wanted to explore some more about any particular product, so please drop in an email. I would love to come back to you with my timings, and we can do a special presentations for you guys. As you know, like it's very hard for us to for especially for me to cover these all products in 30 minutes, because every one single product module required 1 hour presentation. So for my agenda was today is to give you a very high level what we are doing when it comes to the data protection as a Thales. and might be, if you might think there is some particular module which is very interesting topic for you guys, we can have a one more session with you guys particularly, and you can drop in an email on that. So that's all from my side, Ryan. So I think I'm done with my presentation and looking forward for the questions at the end of
Thank
the
you
session.
so much, Lakwinder, for the insightful knowledge you've given us on DP Thales. The next presenter is Moaz from F5 that will be giving us his insights on the big IP.
Let me just turn on my screen. Give me a second. So, do you see my screen? Full?
Yes, and you clear both. All yours.
Excellent. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Moaz Hawari. I'm a senior solution engineer in F5. I cover Gulf and Levant. And today, really, the discussion, or I'm going to share with you a little bit on F5 and how our partnership with Thales can make your deployment a much more secure one, of course. So, Lakwinder, thank you. I mean, you've done a very good intro on why SSL is very important. There's nothing I can say that will emphasize more. Of course, data privacy, Google rating, the explosion of social networks, the explosion of using SaaS services or SaaS apps for business, all of this has driven higher and more importance on SSL and TLS and the ciphers as well, of course. So it's becoming extremely important for us as enterprises on how we really manage our SSL ciphers and how we can we really manage and publish applications while making sure that our private keys are always secure and protected. And the thing is, guess what? Attackers love encryption as well. I mean, it's not the good guys only who loves encryption. Attackers as well love encryption because they end up putting their attacks and submitting their attacks inside the encryption. And this leverages on all the blind spot that encryption can create in appliances or platforms or solutions that do not handle them properly. There are facts out there, but the most important one is really 71% of the phishing websites, they even leverage on encryption to try to seem like a good website. The moment users look at websites and look at applications and they see that it's encrypted and has a green lock out there, they will think that this is a legitimate website and they will end up doing their transactions and getting attacks. A lot of malware passes through these SSL encrypted channels as well. So really what happens is that encryption basically creates an extremely big blind spots inside your environment. So regardless whether you're using, we're talking about outbound SSL encryption, or we talk about even inbound SSL traffic. So you have a hosted applications and you're planning to go for higher private keys or higher encryption or higher TLS ciphers. Your security components, if they're unable to keep up with the right encryption mechanisms and decrypt the traffic and decipher the traffic and make sure that it is being inspected, attackers will leverage on those encryption and to leverage on those weaknesses to embed their attacks in an encrypted channel, and which ultimately creates a blind spot for all your security components. And what I want to mention today is some of the solutions that you probably been using in F5 and where our partnership can really make a lot of sense. So high overview for everyone on F5 and different F5 solutions. F5 has been known in the market for an application delivery controller. It can have, of course, multiple form factors. It can have the appliance form factor. One new, it can has the chassis. It can come up in a chassis form factor. It can come out as a virtual form factor as well. All of these, they leverage on the same reverse proxy hardened self-made operating system that F5 has done. And on top of this, you can have multiple solutions running. We have the load balancing solution, which regardless whether it's load balancing for applications within the same data center or load balancing for applications across data center, which gives you the global server load balancing. You can publish your applications on F5. It works as a reverse proxy. The most important part is you do SSL offloading almost in every application that you publish, and that's the natural way to publish an application. So you offload your SSL keys or your private keys on F5, and you end up publishing the application. Now, of course, this is natural. This is the standard practice, but of course, our integration with Thales can actually bring in better hardened and better way to handle SSL. You have also the web application firewall. It's an advanced web application firewall. Think of it as an application firewall, which only looks at the application logic or the web application logic. It looks at the web application attacks. You define what is a positive security, how is your website should be accessed. You define the negative security, the signature based. We've added, of course, additional engines on top of the negative and the positive security. We've added behavioral DDoS, where we can actually learn the behavior of each application. And if there is an attack happening, we can, using our behavioral machine learning and AI, we can create a dynamic signature on the fly that picks the attacker out of thousands of attackers based on more than 3,000 different buckets or thresholds. We've added bot as well, protection. 50% of the attacks today, or 50% of your traffic today is actually bot related or robotic or automated traffic. And more than 70% of the attacks today are contributed or initiated by bots. So it's becoming extremely crucial for you to handle and manage the bots that are accessing your web services. And again, with the advanced web application firewall, we give you that flexibility to control the type of bots that are accessing your applications, whether it's signature-based bots or proactive. Of course, in a proactive manner, we can inject based on the behavior. We can understand if there's a human actually accessing the bots or not. We've added API security. Of course, again, this is not the topic of today, but again, this gives you better protection for your applications, whether you're publishing an application through the web services or the mobile channel or through APIs as well. We'll be able to protect that. And of course, protecting the application or the user credential or user identity, all without having to inject or without having to deploy any agents. Of course, again, it's extremely natural. Every customer of ours who publishes their web applications, they add the web application firewall. And again, for us to be able to inspect your web services properly, usually our customers, they install and deploy their private keys on F5. And with our integration with Thales, you can have the private keys deployed on Luna or the network HSM and have F5 integrated. And with whenever we are doing the communication between the client and the user, F5 communicates with the HSM and it creates or pulls a pre-master shared secret key, and it will help inspect the traffic in a more secure manner without involving private keys, without even having to install the private keys on F5. You can keep it within the hardened Luna platform. We have the firewall, which is a layer 3, layer 4 network firewall. There's no offloading over there. As well, we have the application policy manager or the identity and access management solution. This is where F5 basically, again, integrates with SSL. It publishes the application, it creates SSL VPN, it gives you the single sign-on, the identity and access management, the authentication. And again, this is one of the solutions that integrates extremely well with Thales HSM. We have our DDoS solution and we have our SSL orchestration. I want to spend a couple of minutes on the SSL orchestration because this is all about SSL, and the topic of today is SSL. So SSL or SSL orchestration or SSLO solution is basically our solution that offloads all your security components from doing the expensive transaction or the expensive task of encryption and decryption. SSLO sits in the middle of the traffic, and it integrates with different security components. These security components can be layer 2 solutions like IPSs, IDSs. It can be layer 3 solutions like next generation firewalls. It can be ICAP based solutions like antivirus, DLPs. It could be sandboxing solutions. It could be forward proxies, and it could be even receive-only devices like packet captures. So the idea is that F5 SSLO sits in line in the traffic, and it handles all of your SSL encryption and decryption. It integrates with Thales for inbound SSL traffic that is hitting your data center for applications that you're publishing. And then it decrypts the traffic and it sends it in clear text to all of those security components. This by itself will offload a lot of SSL processing on all the security components. It gives you much better ROI because on average, every security component in your environment, when it starts doing decryption and encryption, you lose 70 to 80% of its capacity just because of the task of encryption and decryption. So if you offload that and you can streamline in a better way, and based on, you can create rules on SSLO where based on a certain business logic, based on a certain category, if it's social media websites, if it's business applications, if it's all, and you create a streamline of different security components, all of that can be controlled and decrypted or controlled and processed in a much more neater way and secure way, of course. Of course, F5 is also available on public cloud, so be it on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, you can have F5 and you can consume F5 over there. And again, you can also consume HSMs over there along with F5. And of course, we have our cloud services or managed services, be it the layer 3, layer 4 DDoS protection, be it the managed WAF, and our managed fraud solution. All of that are available as well. Again, as a high-level overview or where F5 fits in. As I mentioned, this is the natural use case or the natural way to publish applications. You will have your applications published. You'll have people or clients connecting to the applications on F5 as a reverse proxy. Many of our customers today, they're not using HSMs. They publish it and they install the private keys here. And no matter, even though that F5 has got FIPS 140-2, but no matter what it is, if you basically you're taking your private keys and you're publishing it on F5, you could be publishing it on another security component to have the self-loading. So of course, the most secure way to do these is to integrate with a network HSM, where all the private keys are actually only deployed and never leave the HSMs. And the integration between F5 and the HSMs, we create a pre-shared secret, and we will be able to decrypt the traffic based on that. So all the key protection and the lifecycle management stays in the secure HSM in Thales. Again, this does not have to be only hardware. It also applies if you're running in a virtualized environment. If you're in public cloud, you'll be able to consume F5 no matter what module we're talking about, or no matter what solution, whether it's the ADC, the reverse proxy, the load balancing, the DNS, the identity and access management, or the WAF, all of these, or the SSLO, all of these can be consumed as well in your private or public cloud. So again, the client requests the SSL traffic or the application, basically the HTTPS application from F5. F5 communicate with the HSMs and they communicate or exchange a pre-shared secret. F5 sends the request back here. We use the public key to decrypt the traffic, and we re-encrypt and decrypt the traffic here using the pre-shared secret. Again, the most important part is that the private key does not leave the HSM. It always stays within the HSM, and you're always in control, and you're protecting your private keys. And this is the keys to your kingdom. If anybody gets their hands on the private keys, basically as if they have their hands on your house, right? so they can actually steal and do whatever they want with it. This is the use case with the SSLO for inbound SSL traffic. So if you have HTTPS applications that you're publishing today, and we would like to streamline, offload your different security components, you don't want to install the private keys on the next generation firewall, you don't want to install the private keys on the IPS or the malware or sandboxing solution or the secure web gateway. You don't need to do all of this here. We can integrate with HSM. You don't even need to install the private keys on F5. The integration between SSO and the HSM makes sure that we will decrypt the traffic for all of these security components in a secure way. We don't even use the private key. We use pre-shared secret between F5 and the SSLO. And we will decrypt and offload all of these security components from doing the heavy task or compute resource intensive task of encryption and decryption. And again, we can steer the traffic to all of these components based on so many different ways, based on categories, URL categories, based on IP geolocation, where is it coming from, based on the protocol, the port, the source IP, the destination IP, very flexible way, and we can create dynamic service chain that says service chain 1 includes all of these, service chain 2 could include maybe the IPS and the IDS, and based on the logic of the traffic, we can redirect the traffic after we decrypt it in a secure way. We can redirect the traffic to the right chain. So really, it's for me. I didn't want to take too long, and I'm available as well. So send me your questions on the chat or on email, or contact our partners and distributors, exclusive networks. We will be able to support you. The integration or the partnership between F5 and Thales is a no-brainer. SSL traffic is going to be the way moving forward. Or every application that you will publish and you're going to be consuming will be SSL based. So making sure that you're handling your private keys in a proper manner is extremely crucial. This is, of course, this will help you evade many attacks, many compromises, and of course, it gives you much better, maximizing your investment as well. So that's it for me. I think I was right on time.
Thank you so much, Moaz. That was a wonderful presentation on F5. And now to merge these two together, Thales and F5, we have Blair, who will help us with the integration with Thales Lunar Networks HSM and F5 Big IP. Blair?
Oh, there we go. I did the first "you're muted, Blair" on today's presentation. Let me just switch to my slides on full screen. And bear with me, everyone. Well, I just want to say thank you for inviting me today. My name is Blair Canavan, and I am with Thales Group, and I'm based in Ottawa, Canada. And yes, it's quite early in the morning, but I'm really glad to be a part of this presentation today. Just a little quick history about myself. I rejoined Thales after almost a 20-year hiatus. I'm one of the original people that which is near and dear to my heart, is the Luna Hardware Devices. This is an Ottawa-based company that started back in 1995, and I joined in 1996 as one of the original crew members of what we then called Chrysalis. Here we are, fast forwarding to 2021, and I'm back in the same very familiar and comfortable place where I used to be, albeit the market has shifted so dramatically in terms of the need for hardware security modules and inherent root of trust, that I'm astonished still that we're having these conversations about whether you should or shouldn't protect your keys in a root of trust. So hopefully by the end of my few minutes here in the webinar today, I can show you a little bit about my perspective and Thales's perspective on how we would like to work with the customer and working with our partner F5 and exclusive.
Blair?
So I'm not going to.
Sorry to butt in. You're not on presentation mode.
Oh, my apologies.
Yes, perfect.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. So there's not a lot of mystery in terms of what we as a company are doing here with F5. You've heard from my colleagues here that the problem or the challenge that we have as companies to solve this together is the best of breed solutions. We'll talk a little bit about that and why we are working together so closely and how we're evolving into the cloud migration, digital transformation stage of our two companies. And solving this together has been the backbone of what this group in Thales does. We manage the tech partner ecosystems all over the globe, and we currently have over 400 integrations, of which F5 is one of them, one of our what we call core partners. Being that we're going to talk a little bit about core, we're going to explain what F5 and Luna HSM and our cloud HSM offers in terms of coverage in those two scenarios or in hybrid scenarios. And then I'll also pause a little bit on what's called universal client and why that matters and why that should stand out as one of the reasons why we can evolve so well with F5. And then I'll quickly summarize and hand back to my colleagues. I won't spend a lot of time on what the problem is. If you're not familiar with DDoS and other types of compromise, we want to protect the resources that are so essential to as what Moz and Lakhwinder said, was it's protecting those keys, it's protecting those shared secrets, it's making sure that the organizations understand that much like the back door that's never used in a home and you wonder why that's where they broke in, those are the types of elements that we speak to. In other words, let's just protect the keys. It's a very fundamental, simple concept, but it's still to this day one of the challenges that we often are asked is, do I need to protect those keys, and how, with what kind of vigor do I need to protect those keys? Similar to, can I drive a car very quickly down the highway without my seatbelt? Sure. Should you do that? No. And this is where we come into elementally. So intruders are going to look for the way transparently to, as Moz said, once they have access to the keys to the kingdom, excuse me, they really, relatively speaking, have access to every element within the network itself. Establishing rogue websites, using key holders' identities to steal important data, failure to secure those SSL private keys means the attacker has the ability to access sensitive information in transit, not only today, but in the future, and completely, most probably, without any knowledge of that infiltration. So the customers themselves, we often hear about next generation. Well, next generation firewalls, next generation technologies, architectures, all are based on the premise of bigger, faster, and more flexible, but the same elements of protecting those keys are at risk. So this is still, as I said earlier, after many, many years of coming back into this space, I haven't left the cryptography space, but coming back into the specific space where protecting keys within the SSL TLS element, they're so vulnerable to loss and theft that we don't want to keep hearing about this in the news. And I could post many, many examples, which I'm sure you're all very, very familiar with, excuse me, in the industry, where those keys have been compromised. And of course, the post-mortem on that is, oh, I guess we should have protected those keys in hardware. In the regulated industries, fintech industries, government, and so on, FIPS, or Federal Information Processing Standards, and common criteria, if those are already in place, well, then of course we as two companies come together very well with those areas, because we support those validations. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about how data protection, making sure that when we perfect forward secrecy, visibility and control, we want to make sure that the SSL encryption is intact and is as secure as possible. And the last part, of course, protecting and managing those keys with hardware security modules is near and dear to what Thales does elementally. But what is the exact solution? So on the left, you have the big IP family with the local traffic manager, access manager, advanced WAF, and often we hear just a WAF, of course, and the SSL orchestration or orchestrator. We have the ability to work with F5 in a number of ways. And at the core, as I mentioned, of that is universal client. Universal client is the API and the interface that we provide to our partners and to our customers, which gives them the ability transparently to speak to both our cloud HSM, which you'll hear data protection on demand, as well as our on-prem. And depending on the scenario and the service offering and the use case, the reason the universal client is so key here is that it provides a one-time integration with Big IP, and with that transparency allows that organization to have and support any number of scenarios, whether it be on-prem, whether it be full cloud, hybrid cloud. And there are also scenarios where we can use the cloud HSM as a backup scenario, as an HA scenario, in those disaster recovery, I should say, scenario. That's very important to organizations who have not made the entire shift to the cloud, because some of their data center operations must remain as is, and also offering those virtual capabilities or cloud offerings from F5, we provide that universal client integration right off the shelf. And again, as an end user, you don't have to think about that. You don't have to worry about that. It's already done. And this is unique in the industry. We're the first ones to do such a thing, as opposed to having two separate streams of development to support any number of scenarios. So how does it all work? And I know Moz has given you, and Laquinder has given you, some great examples of how this looks and works together. But think of it from a web app server and a client perspective. And so this is a real simple, from what Moz described as excuse me, the shared secret key. How do we get there? So once these elements are set up in the organization, the first, of course, thing is that the client requests a page with TLS. Then, of course, the Big IP LTM retrieves that public key. Then number 3, the server responds with that certificate and public key. And number 4, the client creates a pre-master secret, as Moz described, encrypts it with the F5 public key, and sends it to the Big IP. Next, the Big IP sends the pre-master secret in the HSM, decrypts it with the F5 private key on the HSM. Number 6, the Big IP LTM, or just what's called Big IP, retrieves a page from the app server. And lastly, oh, my mouse just paused here. And lastly, the client and the Big IP communicate using the symmetric key. Now, again, most of this, of course, being transparent, that being the whole aspect of our integration. This is all done completely transparently behind the scene, and provides that element and that root of trust that we talked about. So there's a big part of this, of course, as I mentioned prior to this, which is the actual maintenance of or support for FIPS and or common criteria. So why using this, of course, is because it provides that trust anchor validated by FIPS. And there is also the element that F5 already brings to the table, that we are not the only option. As a network HSM, we provide many connections to many devices, not just F5, but we can become a root of trust for many elements within the data center. F5 also supports their own PCI card. They have the ability to ship that within their own box. But the network HSM, because it can, of course, scale out to support other devices in the environment, becomes a much more sought after scenario. And so you'll see this brought up from time to time, where that root of trust is, as I said, a trust anchor for many elements within the data center. I've already said that. This multi-tenancy capability, of course, under FIPS is not lost on a lot of people who are looking for that in their big, whether they're using a co-location or whether using a common data center approach or internal on-prem. The multi-tenancy, multi-partitioning capability of these devices allows for scale beyond what a single, obviously, appliance can provide. Now, if you're wondering what this slide deck might provide to you, what we've done is we've embedded these actual solution briefs and integration guides within. We are also working on another white paper that should be ready sometime in March. We're quite excited about that, which is talking more about the cloud scenarios and the hybrid scenarios, where obviously a lot of digital transformation architectures are shifting to. So we'd be more than happy to walk through this with you. You have lots of people on the phone with Laquinder and Maz and so on that can talk to you in much more depth and describe what we can do together with F5. And of course, with exclusive networks, everybody can be brought together based on the requirement. So in summary, I think it's quite clear that we've been doing this with F5 as a trusted partner for a very long time. And the big IP to us is a significant platform which we are moving in step with. So as they evolve, so are we. Storing those certificates, encryption keys in that hardware, again, I think that's fairly clear that we've made that point. And you know, this whole aspect of making sure that we have the most robust from an authentication point of view. We are the leader and the two 800-pound gorillas in these spaces. So working with us, I think, is a safe bet and a comfort that we've got this figured out. I'll also mention that all testing between our companies is done independently, and then we summarize with our testing together, which I think is a unique value proposition, that we make sure that before we release and as F5 releases, that our products are in step and in sync. Thank you. And that's the end of my portion within the presentation today.
Thank you so much, Blair. And this brings us to the question and answer round. We have a few questions that have come through. Lucky, if we can have your camera on, and Moaz as well.
Yep.
Moaz? I think Moaz is away from the laptop, but any which ways, we'll come to the first question. First question.
I am here.
Yeah, okay, perfect. First question is towards Lucky. There's a question that come through that's asking what makes Thales data protection products and offerings win over other competitors?
Yeah, I think this is very common question. So when it comes to the competition, so see, as you know, like, the way, I went through the slides, and you have seen, like, it's not like a single solution which we are offering, right? So we start from all pain points when it comes to finding the data, encrypting, key management, securing the data. On the top of that, we have this Luna HSM as a key wallet from hybrid mode, cloud. So yeah, so cut the story short. So like when it comes to as a competitor, myself as a pre-sales consultant, even I don't see there is a vendor who can do all shots in one product or solution, rather than having a multiple silo solution when it comes to encryption or key management. So yeah, so that's my very simple answer. So I don't see any competitor who can bring all these offering in one single solution on the table for a customer and help, to them to drive the data security as an approach or as a strategy for a customer.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Lucky. Moaz, next question to you. What are the F5 software modules that can be integrated with the Thales HSM solution?
So basically, all F5 modules can be integrated in general, but the most common ones are the LTM, the ADC platform, the web application firewall, which is probably abbreviated as either the ASM or the advanced WAF, AWF, the APM, which is our identity access management, and SSLO, which is our SSL visibility appliance. So these are the 4 most common modules or solutions that you can easily integrate them either in the form of hardware, F5 as a hardware, or even F5 as a VE or virtualized form factor.
Okay, thank you. And another question. Let's see if this is F5 related. Once the SSL/TL private keys are installed in the HSM partitions, will they leave the HSM whenever F5 is requested to do the SSL offloading for the HTTPS traffic sent to the web application? Would Moaz, you be able to take that?
So Lakwanda can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe not. So the private key stays within the HSM, and that's the whole point of having an HSM, right? So what we do is we create pre-shared or session key for each of these sessions that will be communicated between F5 and the HSM. And like wonder, you want to comment on that as well?
Lakwinder?
Was on mute. Yeah, that's why I think even Blair can stamp on that one. So yeah, HSMs are required to keep the keys in the hardware, right? So in the secure form, so that if it should not leave the HSM, otherwise it can compromise. You can compromise the private keys there, which is signing. So you're right, Moz. So it's more. It will never leave the HSM. So it's more the SSL handshake on transactions, which is done by F5 box. Is that clear? What do you think on that?
No, cool. I think you both you gentlemen are bang on. And again, the essence of all HSM since the beginning of time has been that the actual process is brought to the HSM to be executed within that secure enclave. So that is elemental. There's no reason whatsoever for the private key ever to leave. And we say this with a big asterisk, in the sense that in the case of key cloning or moving to an additional device and so on for backup and HA purposes, even at that point, those are encrypted. But there is no need for during the operation from an SSL point of view for those private keys, nor can they actually leave the HSM under any circumstances. So yes.
Thank you. And now for a last question, it's a very generic question that's come through. It says, with remote working going to be the norm in 2021 also, how will 5G be a good model for business at home? And what kind of security can home internet users expect from providers? If anyone wants to pick up, you all can.
So, Blair, go for it.
No, I was going to say, if we had one of our colleagues, and certainly Thales's presence within the 5G space, the architecture that Moz knows very well and Lakwinder knows very well is still, from a 5G point of view, the inherent back end systems are still going to be the same systems that you would see in a traditional network environment. How that will affect the end customer is really the concept of how trusted is that network. So we've been working with many of the large mobile providers and carriers all over the world to ensure that the same elements apply to those, whether it be, again, when you think of the number of certificates that are being created in a 5G and or IoT environment, again, the root of trust would be still within our area of responsibility. And then, of course, I hand off to my colleagues Moz and Lakwinder to describe what 5G would mean to them.
So for us in F5, probably, so working from home has changed a lot of things, and it might be even the norm moving forward. It could be a flexibility for many companies. With F5, our solutions, so the APM solution, let's say, for example, gives the companies and enterprises the flexibility to either create an SSL VPN for their employees or publish the application in a secure manner without the need of having even SSL VPN. It can be all transparent to the users. So with 5G specifically, we have a certain business unit in the F5, which is the service provider unit. And we're working with many telcos today on creating high-speed GI firewalling for the 5G, network optimization for the consumers, so much better TCP. You can think of it as a TCP optimization for the consumer, much better performance for the users, traffic steering in the back end. So this is all at the back end of the service provider. But in a way or another, it affects the performance for the user. It gives them much better responsiveness, much better throughput. And in the backend as well, also, the service provider can use our solutions for even to intercept and clean the SSL traffic from all of those malware and attackers that can even, or DDoS attacks that could potentially happen through or be used over the 5G. So yeah, we play in a role in one way or another, but it's more on the infrastructure side, and again, it can affect and influence the user experience.
And for me, I think it's last comment. It's nothing much. So what we are doing, I think Blair, maybe I think one of our business development team also, they are working very closely, bringing the root of trust to the 5G networks, devices and all. So what we are doing, we have partnership with a couple of big providers who these 5G networks and devices. So there are I think one of the big SI who won the project in Europe or somewhere. So what we are doing, we are plugging into our HSMs, Luna same HSM as a root of trust. So while creating the trust as a traffic and plus as a device. So I'm not 100% sure how exactly what we are doing there, but yes, again, the Luna HSM is one of our critical product when it comes to protecting the 5G networks, maybe on the telco side especially. So Blair, maybe you know something about that. I think.
Right. The key word is scale. And I think this is where the expectation from an end customer and for the carriers themselves is delivering that service at scale and at the same performance from an expectation. If 5G is supposed to be the highest performance and deliver the most value, you cannot have a back-end infrastructure that is still based on 2010 technology. So what we have done over the many number of years is, depending on the infrastructure, for example, we can scale these HSMs from a linear point of view to 10, 20, 30, 100,000 transactions per second into the millions if necessary on the elliptic curve side. So depending on what the device is or what the use case is, scale is all the most important. If, for example, the compromise is performance but high security, that users don't understand nor do they care. They want to have those services delivered to them and embedded in their applications. We have, as end users on mobile phones, we have a tolerance of 1 to 2 seconds delay. If you can't provide that from a security infrastructure, then you need to go back to the architecture drawing board. And so I think that we as companies understand that and are working with those scenarios. As I said, elliptic curve is something that obviously existed back in the mobile days on the handsets and was the only way to deliver encryption at that scale. Now we're doing it on hundreds and if not millions of transactions a second. Let's not even get into the mobile or I should say connected cars with the butterfly certificates and all those things, but those are the demands that the market is bringing, and we're in pretty good shape to meet those demands today.
Thank you all. I think one last question has come through. What is the unique proposition of Thales Luna HSM?
The unique value proposition. I don't know, Laquinder, do you want to take that one or?
Yeah, unique value proposition. I think I can take from the technical angle. I'm not the business guy. So, so yeah, when it's if you see the slide, the one slide I presented for the Luna. So right now, when it comes to our product itself, as Luna is not a new product, so it's more than I think my age maybe. I don't want to disclose my age. So yeah, so it's a very old product. So what we are doing as a company, so we are bringing a lot of integration. So one of the use case you just discussed, how we can secure 5G networks. So this is where Luna is playing great game. And when it comes to, if you might aware of quantum cryptography, so quantum is coming. This is where like in coming few years, it can break some RSA elliptic algorithms as they claim, right? So this is where what we are doing as a HSM vendor. So we are very closely working on this quantum resist algorithms and the entropy sources, which can be plugged into these Luna HSMs. And when you see as a visionary, if I say like, we are going and we are taking these HSMs kind of same trust into the cloud, which is our default kind of offering, which is cloud HSMs. And again, I've seen this as a requirement in the Middle East itself. So customers, they don't want to invest like everything on premise nowadays. So these HSMs, as Blair mentioned, with the universal client, with the help of that universal client feature. So we are bringing these hybrid cloud HSM kind of projects in a real life now. Say I can see, okay, we can install one Luna here, we integrate with our cloud HSMs there, and bringing this IoT, 5G, quantum cryptography. So that's what I can see. Like as a technical guy, I think this is one of the key points or key, I would say, strong propositions. So from the business side, I'm not going to comment on that, but yes, definitely from the technical side, this HSM is not the black box anymore. So it's bringing a lot of new use cases.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Blair. Thank you, Lakwinder. Thank you, Moaz. This brings us to the end of our session. You will see my email address if you would like to get in touch with us or anyone from Thales or F5 team. Please do drop us in an email. And hope you all had a very informative session. Thank you once again to all the presenters and everyone that has attended. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.